Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. So appreciate you guys joining us today. We have an awesome podcast in store for you this morning, but I say we because we have our friend Andrea back for another one, and it's so awesome to hear her with me. Hey, Andrea, how are you? It's so good to have you back. So we've been talking for the past week, Andrea and I, going over some potential topics, and we've come up with one that we have been feeling for a little bit now and getting some messages about, and that is fear and how important it is, or how influential it can be in our lives, depending on how much we allow it to be. And real quickly, I would just like to start off by giving a brief definition of what fear is, and basically a definition of it that I channeled the other day. Fear is a feeling of apprehension based on a perceived lack of something. I'm going to repeat that again. Fear is a feeling of apprehension based on a perceived lack of something. And that is a pretty powerful, I think, definition that was channeled the other day. And when you do think about that definition, that it is the apprehension of something based off of perceived lack of, it totally makes complete sense. It totally makes sense. And it's 11:11 right now, so that's awesome. There's a lot of, as a matter of fact, that definition was channeled at 3:33 a.m. and it is currently 11:11. So that's pretty, in my book, that's pretty telling evidence or validation that we are definitely getting something from the divine. And so I'll give everybody a quick example of what's been happening with me lately, and that is I've been getting these, I guess you call them psychic attacks, by a lot of nights, not every, but many nights so far this week. I have been getting something that's trying to get me to be fearful. And so I thought it was a direct result of working with a particular individual that has just recently reached out to me. I'm beginning to question that. I'm not really sure what is going on here. However, what is happening is many nights around 3 o'clock in the morning, I start to get these visions, and then I hear something talking to me, and it'll try to instill fear in me, and in an attempt to stop doing particular work. And it'll, in the visions or in these messages that I'm hearing, it'll literally say, stop what you are doing. So one of the nights, and I believe it, I perceive the message is to stop doing the light work that we're doing, because we're bringing a lot of good into this world. So obviously something that is low vibrational does not want that. However, one of the evenings I saw what looked like a mountain, and the mountain was shaped like a face, and I was taken through the mouth. Once I went through this mountain, the mouth of the mountain, it was just complete darkness, and it looked like there were all these souls around me that weren't very happy, and they would fly past me but couldn't do anything to me. And then and that was the end of the one. The next night I had one where, and again, there are like messages that come with these visions that are stop doing what you're doing, or basically trying to cause fear within me. Then there was one where I saw an image of a building in front of me, and this lady walked up to me and said, "Did you see the hawk?" Now, for those of you that listen to the podcast frequently know, the hawk is my spirit animal, and you guys know when I went to Sedona, I saw many of them. Well, when I replied to the lady and I said, "No, what hawk?" And she goes, "Oh, look up there." And as I looked up, I saw the silhouette of a hawk, and it would look like the side of a school building, and it looked like the silhouette of a hawk. Well, once I saw that and acknowledged that I saw it, I happened to this guy comes to the side of me. Now, he was dressed in full black and his eyes were black, and he said, what the F is a hawk? And to me, I knew immediately, okay, this thing is not good and I shouldn't be interacting with it. So I immediately came out of the meditation in the middle of the night, or this like dream state, and I started to do some of my protections. Basically, I am statements. So I am one with God. I am one with light. And then I'll go through my light work where I will start to bring light into the room and into myself and begin to assert my divine oneness with God. Well, so those kinds of attacks have been happening now for close to a week, and I'm still trying to figure it all out. But it's been interesting. And this morning I didn't see any attacks, but I did wake up at 3, and I have not gone back to sleep yet. So it's been interesting. Well, part of fear, though, is understanding that you don't want to feed it. Fear, like anything, love, kindness, if you feed it, it will grow. Well, right now, it's been happening to me for a couple of days, but it's nothing severe. It's nothing that I can't handle. And so every day, what I will do is I'll still do my meditations. I'll do my light work. Every morning when I get up, I state my I am statements. But those are some powerful things that you can do when you're in the face of fear. But the one thing to understand is that fear really, from where I come from, is not an option. You don't feed that. So it's something that you feel, it's something that you notice, but it is not something that drives you. So if something were to come to me, as it has been, and is telling me not to do something, and it's using fear to get me to stop, well, that in my book is not God. That is something that is low vibrational and something that I don't subscribe to. Fear to me is not an option. So anytime I feel it, I will acknowledge it and observe it, but then I will go into these protective states that I use, the I am statements. I am protected. I am one with God. I will only work with those in God's white light. Those kinds of things. There are some other so as we've discussed before, some things that you could do to increase your vibrations, and some of those things I would encourage you to do at times that you might be not interacting with, but might be getting these attacks, if you will. You definitely want to begin to surround yourself with positivity. So anything that is going to raise your vibrations and get you to feel better, laughing, feeling gratefulness, acts of kindness where you're doing where you yourself are doing acts of kindness for another person, or even watching somebody else do an act of kindness that touches you. These are really good aspects to be aware of, because you can grow, or your vibrations can raise as a result of this. And then also always be in your heart and know that we are all one, and that God is in your heart, So if you're in your mind and you're thinking about things, I'm going to get into another topic a little bit later about the mind and the ego mind, but we know that God resides in the heart, and he's continuously telling us to go to the heart to feel them and to know where they are coming from. So those are some things that you can do to begin to really raise your vibration, because when you're feeling this fear, it definitely can be a burden, and it can bring you down if you allow it. So you have to begin to work to raise that vibration. And it's important that you do that. You don't want to sit in that mindset very long, because the longer you sit there, it's going to affect you more and more. So but it is important to understand that whatever emotion you feed more of, it's going to grow more. So We know about the story that I've told in the one podcast about the Indian father who takes his son out to the into the forest, and he talks about the two wolves in his mind, and one's gratefulness, love, peace, harmony, all of that. The other is anger, frustration, sadness. And then the son goes, well, and the father says they're both fighting. And the son goes, well, who's winning? Whichever one you feed most. Okay, that story is an accurate representation of the ego mind versus the heart. And we must understand the importance of feeding the good if we want to be of a high vibrational state. So, also, what we can do is call in the archangels. They're an important aspect of all of this. Ascendant masters, archangels, angels, anyone that's in God's light is going to help you. And the more that you call in, we've channeled several times already, the more we call in, the more beings that allows to come forth and only help our spiritual team on the other end bring in more light. So we want that. It is helpful. Now, there are a few other things that we can do, and here is something that is very important. If you feel as if fear is a large part of who you are, or a large part of what is stopping you, preventing you from going in a particular direction, if fear is the ultimate driver for you, then that tells you right there and then that your root chakra is having some issues and needs to be addressed. So the root chakra is the chakra that not controls fear, but will help you alleviate it if you begin to work with it. So that is one that we need to begin to address immediately if fear is that driver for you. So for me, fear in these cases that I've been experiencing for the past week, fortunately, is not a driver for me. So I recognize that this is happening, but I go in the complete opposite direction. I know, okay, if it's something fearful, I know that it's the guy downstairs, that's trying to get to me and not God. So then I will go in the opposite direction. So that is another aspect, or another way that you can begin to look at it. Now, working with the root chakra, though, there are a number of ways that you can work with it to help open it. First, you can sit there and meditate on it. Picture it opening. Picture it spinning in a clockwise. Picture it completely open from front to back. And know that there are no blocks. So knowing it, believing in it, and then acting as if it is not blocked would put you in a high vibrational state, and therefore take the fear away. Because if your root chakra is open, you won't feel that fear is not something that is going to drive you, and that obviously is something that we want to have it open, is what I'm saying there. So meditation on the root chakra is a good one, and the root chakra is red in color. So anything that you're eating red, or anything that you're wearing red that continues to get you to think of the root chakra will begin to help you open it up, to be more aware of it, and that will be helpful in overcoming fear. Other items or thoughts that you can do that will help you overcome fear is you are able to call in spirit totems. All right. Now, spirit totem, you have a spirit animal. I have a spirit animal. That's an animal that you know is yours, not necessarily yours, but yes, it's yours. Like, other people can have it, but your spirit animal, my spirit animal, the hawk, is a spirit animal that comes to me all the time. It goes to people that I've channeled for all the time. And they repeatedly tell me that, or ask me if the hawk can be sent to other people as validation. But you are able to call in other spirit animals for assistance. So, for instance, if you're looking to overcome fear, you can use the spirit animal of the lion. All right, the lion is an extremely courageous animal, and its energy can be used to call. Its energy can be called upon to help you overcome this fear. It is not something that needs to be It's not something that needs to be like dwelled on. But you can use these other animals and their energy to help you. Animals. Andrea's spirit animal, I believe, is an owl. I don't know. Is that right?
Well, I thought it was a squirrel, but today I'm feeling like it's an owl.
Oh, all right. So that's an awesome. You know what? We're gonna have to talk about that because in another time, because
Yeah.
these spirit totems can come in and out at different times depending on what you're in need of or the feelings that you're having lately. So that is
Okay.
they have shown me different animals at different times depending on what I need at that time.
I did
So
not realize that.
yeah, so
That's good.
that's a really good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's okay.
That's a really good observation, though, to know that. But that actually lends true here. Like Andrea was seeing the owl today, or feeling the owl today, and the squirrel another day. That's exactly the type of mindset that we're having right here when we're calling in other animals. If we want to use the spirit of that animal to overcome a particular situation, issue, whether it be fear or another, we can use them. And I encourage you too because their power is extremely beneficial to you. It's like the oils and the crystals. It helps you raise your vibration. So, and I encourage you to use the lion. Definitely a good one. Also, a dragon is another good one to use when you're overcoming fear. And the fire breathing dragon is one that is extremely powerful and one that I use very often. So be aware of that. Definitely some things that you can call in there. Now, another one, excuse me, another not animal, but an energy that you can begin to call upon is that of a samurai. So the samurai warrior has appeared to me several times when I started this journey, and actually has appeared to one or two people that I've channeled for, but quite some time ago, and I haven't really seen it much since. But I have seen it, and it was an amazing energy. And when you look it up, the samurai is a loyal, very dedicated spirit to his craft, and will help you overcome some of these fearful emotions or feelings that you have at different times. So my point here is to know that there are so many different options available to you to call upon when you're feeling this sense of fear and you're trying to overcome particular obstacles, whatever those obstacles could be. If fear is a driver for you, be aware of that, and then use these different spirit animals, samurai spirits to come in and help you. Always ask for those in God's light and make sure that you will only work with those in God's light. That's an important aspect of it, but use them nonetheless. They're extremely beneficial and helpful in overcoming this, to helping your energy grow. And we've channeled it so many times. Anytime you call in more spirits of God's light, it's beneficial to you and your spiritual team. Now, other than the samurai and the spirit animals, crystals. And we've had a podcast on crystals already. But crystals, and as we discussed then, they are basically tools to help you get to a place. They already vibrate on a frequency, on a level that we are trying to get to. And anytime that we interact with that frequency, our body then becomes attracted to it and attempts to raise as a result of it. It's actually all these spiritual places that we go to, like Mount Shasta or like Sedona, Arizona, are basically tools as well as crystals, because what they do is they subject our bodies to a frequency that our body is not currently at, or a sensation that the body hasn't necessarily felt, or to just this energy overall that is extremely high vibrational. Once we subject ourselves to this energy, in whatever form we do, whether it be through Sedona, a location, or the crystals, it helps. They're tools. Now, can you get there without them? Of course. But this is like a hammer driving a nail into a board. it's difficult to do without the hammer. You use the hammer, it just goes in so much more smoothly. Crystals, oils, locations, all of that just helps augment this process. So Sedona is no different, and crystals are no different. When you begin to use crystals, and crystals that you can use that are specifically tied to fear or to the root chakra, are black tourmaline. It's one of the most powerful crystals that you can use to help overcome fear, black tourmaline. And I have a pretty big chunk of it, and you seriously just run that down your body and just cut the negativity away from you. And as you are going through this motion, your auric layer, your 7 auric layers, you're going through each of them. And so you're running this black tourmaline crystal down your energetic body, your auric layers, and you're cutting away all this negativity. That helps with your mind and your intent. And your intent is really what this is all about. That is what is so important. The intent behind the actions that you are doing. So often we say, you set the intent, you picture it, you feel it, and then you work towards it. Okay, so if you're looking to overcome fear, that is your action towards overcoming fear. These crystals, or the meditation, or the location that you go to with the intent of overcoming fear, that is your work towards it, and that therefore it is going to happen. And hopefully this is all making so much more sense to you, because all these podcasts are running together. All the messages are, when you look at the big picture, make complete sense, and they run almost congruently. And now you're working with energy. You're seeing how all of these universal laws of energy are coming into play, just simply overcoming fear. And I say simply, but I don't mean it's that simple. It takes a little bit of time. So bear with yourself. Be patient. Know that it's okay. Be okay with where you are at this very moment. As long as you want to overcome it and you start to do this work, you will. And just know that. Just give it a little bit of time. Be patient with yourself. Love yourself. But know it will happen. Now, with all of that said, this is going to lead me to another piece of information that I have been feeling lately. Now, this is not something that I have channeled yet, but is something that I feel makes complete sense based on everything that we have learned as a result of this podcast, as a result of all the channeling sessions that we've had, that we've gone through, the aspect of the ego mind. Now, we already know God is within us. And that energy lies within our heart. They tell us that all the time. However, they always say to get out of the mind, to stop the thinking. That thinking is where it's basically almost like an enemy. You want to get out of that space and go into the heart, to sink into the heart. Well, we know God's in us, and we know that there's an equal and opposite to everything. We also know that we are all one. Okay, so is it far-fetched to think that the ego mind is actually a representation or an aspect of the guy downstairs? I mean, think about that for a second. Fear, and I'll tell you where this comes from. I told you guys before, I used to walk down in my basement, and I used to hear the guy downstairs talk to me all the time. And for the longest time, I would just ignore it. And then one day, I was channeling, and God comes in and says, "Chris, that's your ego mind talking." And then recently, with all these things that have been going on, I've been hearing it again. So he's trying to come back. Well, if you think about it, it's an aspect of the guy downstairs, or our hearts are the aspect of God. That's not far-fetched to think or conceive that, okay, if we feed that mind, that aspect of ourselves, that wolf, that frustration, negativity, that wolf, if we feed him more, that leaves us susceptible to the guy downstairs. That's the aspect of him that they keep telling us not to feed. And yet when we sink into the heart, that feeds God, and that allows for the God within us to come out more, and to be expressed more, and to be shown to the people around us more. I don't know. To me, it just makes complete sense. It's a feeling that I've felt the whole week, and feelings that I can't get rid of, like this one, usually end up to be true. Now, I'm hoping that during our channeling aspect of this podcast, that Enoch or whoever will come through and offer us wisdom or knowledge about this idea that the ego mind is the aspect of the guy downstairs. Seriously, even as I say it now, I feel like I'm channeling something there. I can feel that with every part of my body, that the ego mind is part, or is the aspect of the guy downstairs, and our heart is the aspect of the divine God. It really is just so strongly felt within my body right now. So anyway, definitely something to... So with that in mind, right, as you're going along and you begin to feel these feelings of sadness, frustration, and it makes sense. It also makes sense that they always tell us, or I always say, is the ego mind is a conscious thing. This is a living thing. That makes so much sense when you think about all this, because God is also a conscious being. Clearly, right? We get messages from God all the time. Well, if the ego mind is its own conscious living thing, it knows that we're trying to get rid of it, and it's trying to do whatever it can to keep us where we're at. Well, darn, that makes so much sense. I really think we're on to something, and I don't think this is anything. This is huge. This, in my opinion. Now, I've never heard anybody say that the ego mind is an aspect of the guy downstairs. I have never heard that. And in fact, I think people have referenced it as the ego mind simply to have people not overreact to the idea that there is an aspect of the guy downstairs. But when you think of energy and how it works, and how these equal and opposites, and we already have this energy within us, then you can't help but to acknowledge this aspect of it. But we also say, how do you beat that negativity? You beat it with love. You don't beat it with sadness or frustration, because we're feeding it. That's why you always send love to it. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you, we are on to something. I know it. I can feel it strongly. So when you go through these aspects of your life, and you feel these emotions, these feelings, the sadness, you know that is the aspect of the guy downstairs. And then that hopefully will give you even more courage to overcome, to sink deeper to within the heart, and allow for your divine self oneness to come up to the surface, to expel all this negativity, and to really be your true, most loving self possible. Man, I think we're on to something. All right, so with that, I will go ahead, clear my mind, and we will begin to channel and see what comes up. Enoch speaking, my children. Blessed we are to be in your presence this morning, evening. We are always present in the lives of love and the divine oneness, my children. There are accuracies that are depicted in this podcast that we would like to confirm at this time. The ego mind, my children, is an aspect of the divine that resides in a lower frequency. I'm sorry, I don't know what's... This is an aspect of the divine, as we are all one, my children, that must be understood. It is not something to fear, my children. It is something that we send love to. It is an aspect of ourselves as part of the divine oneness that we must come to terms and understanding with, my children. This is not something that we desire to grow or feed. In fact, it is something that we encourage to send love to and understanding to. It is encouraged to send love to all lower vibrational frequencies in the hopes that love will assist, overcome, and transmute such energies. This, my children, is possible in some aspects of this energy, but not all. Not all aspects of this energy will rise or transmute as we are indicating at this time. There are certain aspects that will remain in a lower vibrational state, and this is okay. It is meant to be, my children. It cannot be undone at this time. However, there are aspects of this energy or that reside in this energy that can be transmuted, and we encourage love in order to transmute this energy into loving light energy. You all, my children, carry an aspect of both the creator and lower dimensional beings. However, it is accurate in the sense of whichever one receives the most amount of attention, focus, and effort will ultimately grow within you, my children. And thus, here we lie, with you as a physical being, between both heaven and hell, if you will, a frequency that resides on either end of you, if you will, a portal you are between both worlds, if you will, aspects of you that can either rise or fall in the human form. In a soul's form, though, my children, it will rise. It must rise. It is only able to rise, or it is rebirthed. Rebirth. This is me coming up. What do you mean rebirth, Enoch? Rebirth. The soul will rebirth if it does not rise to a particular point in its span. Lessons of the soul must be learned. And if they are not learned by a particular point in its lifetimes, then the soul will be rebirthed. What can we do to help with the soul? The soul is attempting, my child, to understand how to incorporate the physical body being into its alignment field in order to begin to ascend through the body. The soul must rise in spite of the location of the physical realm. And this is an aspect of the soul that all souls are attempting to complete at this time. It is no easy task for a soul to acquire the lifetimes of knowledge that it must in order to fulfill a particular destiny, if you will, in its span. We do not use the word time, for this is a reflection of your realm and not ours. Your time is much different than our own. And yes, it is said that we do not carry a time. And this is true in a sense. But there are spans of lifetimes that are acknowledged within the soul. These are aspects that the soul carries with it at all times, known as the Akashic Records. These Akashic Records are easily seen by beings of light. Lower vibrational beings are able to see a level of Akashic Records, but not all. They are not readily available to lower dimensional beings, my child. And this is an aspect that we do wish to communicate with you all at this time. For there are aspects of both divine and low vibrational entities within every human. And thus, this is why it is so important for the human body to overcome low vibrational energies, entities, and begin to rise and acknowledge the divine self, oneness within itself. For you are an aspect of the Creator. in either direction that you choose. But it is of the light that we wish you to ascend through, my child. It is an acknowledgement of your divine self, oneness, that will allow you to attain the enlightenment that all souls are heading towards attempting to obtain. Please understand this spoken knowledge that we come to you with at this time. All souls are attempting to attain enlightenment through the physical body, not in spite of it. It is an attempt by the soul to align the physical body with itself in the hopes that the physical body will begin to rise in addition to the soul. Ultimately, it is the soul that does attain the enlightenment, and the body is a mere vessel in which it is helped. Please understand what is being transposed to you all at this time. We are grateful for the opportunity to communicate with you all, and are grateful for Andrea to be one with this podcast, for this is an aspect of her own growth that is needed in this lifetime, and one that we are divinely encouraging her to complete with Christopher on this podcast. Please understand, ladies and gentlemen, that fear, as discussed in this podcast, is an aspect of all human beings, but it is an aspect that all human beings are encouraged to overcome with light and love. And this is how you will overcome such fear, through light, love, and the understanding that you are one with the divine, and that the divine does manage work through you all, through the heart chakra, my children. It is encouraged to rise above the ego mind and that aspect of lower vibration that does reside in all humans. Once this is accomplished in this lifetime, it will assist the soul and allow for the soul and its communication to be felt and believed, guided so much more easily than if the physical body were to not rise and focus more on the low vibrational. It is a state in which the soul finds it difficult to communicate with the human body. Understand this, my children. Aspects of your soul are attempting to communicate with the physical body, but this communication is much easier observed through the state of higher vibrational energy and not lower vibrational energy. And it is accurate in the sense that whichever energy you feed, my children, will rise in you. And the focus upon whichever energy you choose will help or hinder the soul in its ability to rise in its own vibration and goals, achievements, levels, lessons. We thank you all. With this information, we quickly point out the fact that all souls are not here to judge their humankind. They are simply here to learn the lesson, and the body, human body, that it currently resides in provides these lessons. For if a soul is unable to get the human body to achieve a particular level of ascension in a particular lifetime, it is not a detriment to that soul, provided it will be able to achieve other lessons in the next lifetime. It is simply a lesson from this lifetime on how to do things differently. But every lifetime is learned a lesson for each soul. And please understand this. There are no judgments from beyond. We do not, you do not, your soul does not, its spiritual team does not judge the actions of a human if they choose low vibrational energies, actions. It is simply a lesson for that soul to learn how to develop even more so to ensure that the high vibrational actions and choices are met in another lifetime. It is not easy for a soul to be rebirthed, my children. And please do not hold on to this knowledge as we see many of you are doing at this time. It is a concept in which the soul is attempting to grow. But if the level of achievement is not met in a particular span of lifetimes, then it must be rebirthed. But this is not a thought process that we encourage you to hold on to. We encourage this thought to be let go of. For you all that are choosing this podcast as a listening device is our ones that are developing, that are attempting to align with the soul. And this is an important aspect, my children. You are growing. You are becoming one with the divine. You are following your true purpose in this lifetime. This we can assure you all. Continue to find your way and overcome the fear that has been so discussed in this podcast. For fear and lower vibrational energies are easily followed by human beings due to the density of this realm. But my children, your choices in this lifetime to be one with your soul and divine oneness are aspects of you that are extremely powerful and helpful to the rest of this realm. It is no small feat what you are currently accomplishing, and please do not think that it is. We love you all greatly, and we are so proud and appreciative of your time and presence here. We thank you all. Enjoy your evenings. Good night. We love you all as well and are grateful for this opportunity to communicate through Christopher and Andrea as we come through this podcast. And Andrea, we do hope that in time, the comfort level that you have experienced on this podcast will help to develop your own introspection, channeling abilities that will be brought forth through this channel. We are grateful for this opportunity to communicate through you so often. And yes, you do communicate with us frequently and acquire information from us. This is an accurate statement, and we are blessed to have you as part of our divine oneness and the acknowledgement that you are a soul in this plane that is one with the human body. Continue along this path, my child, and you will find your way. We are grateful for you all. Thank you, and good night. Okay, wow. Thank you, Enoch. I appreciate that. I think I need to listen to that channel a little bit more because that was intense. There's a lot of information there, and I hope that you guys are getting from this everything that I am, because that was huge on a number of different levels. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. I love you all so much. Andrea, thank you so much for being here with us again. I appreciate it sincerely, and I thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely our pleasure, and we'll definitely see you back next week, right?
Yes, you will.
Very nice. All right. Thank you guys so much. As always, reach out to me on the website, opentooenergy.com. If you have any questions for me, if you have any questions for Andrea, definitely shoot us an email. Contact us on the website. We'll be able to help you in some way, shape, or form, hopefully. But give us that opportunity. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great day.